Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of the new Fantastic Four First Steps Tickets on Sale trailer, plus the new scene shown exclusively to attendees at CCXP Mexico. This new footage gives us our first official look at baby Franklin Richards, the true future of the MCU, whose first steps this movie is named after. And we know the CCXP scene shows the moment of his birth, but the question is, when in the movie does that take place? If we are now seeing the other scenes with the baby cuddling with Mama and Papa, at least a couple months in. I'm gonna break down all this new footage and everything we've learned, and some big details are in this trailer, so strap in. I'm wearing this new Avengers shirt, which is an exclusive design that you can get at nerdright.shop, which has a ton of great designs that all go directly to supporting us here at New Rockstars. All right, let's get started.
Family. It's about connecting to something bigger than yourself. Whatever life throws at us, we'll face it together.
Johnny, now!
As a family.
The first part of this promo shows mostly shots that we've seen before, but damn, how amazing is it that just the right edit with the right music cues can get me excited in a different way. We do see a new shot of Johnny reacting to his new space flight suit with the 4 on the side, and we see at the end of this trailer. And I broke down these shots of Silver Surfer Shalabal lowering over Times Square in the past trailer in our April trailer breakdown, including all the Easter eggs and the signs, including a Last of Us Attack of the Fungi film. But since then, we've gotten confirmation on what that circular memorial disc is that the Fantastic Four are standing on. The outer ring reads, "On this day, on this spot, the 4 saved the city," and the center circle shows an engraving of Giganto, the monstrous mutate that appears on the cover of the very first Fantastic Four comic issue back in 1961, one of the creatures controlled by Mole Man. But perhaps the most important shot of this whole thing shows Reed Richards and Sue Storm adorably lying in bed with baby Franklin Richards as the baby looks over to his mother and touches her face. Until now, we have known that Sue Storm would be pregnant in this movie, but it wasn't until this past weekend that we knew that she would be giving birth and that we would see that baby in the movie. Now, sure, there's been a Sue Storm Funko figurine that has included baby Franklin and some concept art that came out a while ago. And at CCXP, there was a larger display showing Franklin at Sue's side in more of an action scenario as either Sue or Franklin himself casts a rainbow tinted energy bubble around the kid. At the Fantastic Four presentation at CCXP in Mexico last weekend, footage of a scene was shown with a description from our friends at the Brazilian news outlet Amaleche, an outlet that actually organizes CCXP events in Brazil and Mexico. Here's what they said happens in the scene that was shown. And the scene takes place on board the Fantastic Four ship called the Excelsior, which apparently is the ship's name in this movie, not the Marvel one like I previously reported. My apologies. Reminder that Excelsior is also the name of the launch pad, and it's a New York State motto and Stan Lee's famous catchphrase, which means ever upward. But anyway, in this scene, the 4 are inside their ship and Sue is starting to go into labor, but the Silver Surfer is chasing them. Ben takes over the ship and starts trying to dodge her. They jump into a kind of hyperspace. The CGI is great. We see Reed stretching and using his powers. The Silver Surfer almost reaches Sue's belly. She wants the baby. Johnny takes over the ship's cannons and tries to shoot the Surfer. He makes jokes about her being sexy. Meanwhile, Sue continues to have contractions. Reed tells Ben to go into a black hole. Ben gets worried. Reed tells him to trust him. End of scene. Whoa, this scene sounds nuts. Some online are saying that the Silver Surfer phases into Sue's baby bump a bit. And while it may be kind of hard to conceive what is going on here, remember that Silver Surfer can phase through objects and surfaces as the Silver Surfer gets her power from the power cosmic endowed to her by Galactus. So Shalabal is, in this moment, surfing loops through the ship, phasing through its pressurized cabin, swiping at Sue and the baby, whiffing and grazing it in some cases, but then gliding back out into space for another pass as Johnny tries to shoot at her. And each time she comes into the cabin, Reed is using his stretchy abilities to move pregnant in labor Sue out of the way. Kind of like, over here, all while Ben pilots the ship and Johnny, like Luke Skywalker in the dogfight scene in A New Hope, they all kind of work together to handle this insane threat. Now, we have seen part of this labor scene in past trailers. Sue Storm posed like she's going into labor as Reed is at her side and she flickers in and out of visibility as sparks flash in the shuttle behind them. Those sparks must be the Silver Surfer. But knowing this confirms a few things. One, we were right that what Galactus and the Silver Surfer really really want is baby Franklin Richards, not just the classic motivation of devouring the planet of Earth. Why does Galactus want Franklin? Well, in the comics, Galactus was threatened by and even afraid of Franklin, referring to Franklin as the most powerful mutant ever born. As Franklin grows older, he can warp reality and destroy and rebuild universes, and often goes toe-to-toe with some big cosmic entities, including the Mad Celestials. At one point, even resurrects Galactus, saying, "To me, my Galactus." I have theorized in other videos that what Galactus might want is that tie-dye energy bubble projecting ability that we keep seeing, because what that actually could be is a kind of cosmic microwave background radiation that Matt Shakman defined all the way back in an episode of WandaVision that Wanda Maximoff used to project her reality warping hex around Westview, New Jersey. Since that type of radiation is our evidence of the Big Bang, and the Big Bang was Galactus's arrival into this 7th universe from his previous 6th iteration of the universe, Galactus might be trying to reclaim this power to rebuild his cosmic egg that he gestated inside of during that big crunch into the Big Bang. Or maybe Galactus knows that since Franklin's abilities date back to the Big Bang through the CMBR, Franklin could be how Galactus tries to reverse engineer his old dead universe and to resurrect it. But this also makes us wonder why the Silver Surfer tells the Fantastic Four this.
Are you the protectors of this world?
Yes, we are.
Your planet is now marked for death.
By that, does she mean this entire universe has been marked for death since Galactus plans to revert back to the previous universe? Or is it marked for death after they've made the decisions they made? Or does this confrontation with Silver Surfer happen after Franklin was born and the Fantastic Four hid him somewhere and refused to give the baby up? Now it kind of seems that Sue makes the choice to give birth to Franklin in space, because if she gives birth to him on Earth, Galactus would be there to get them in that vulnerable moment. So when we see Galactus stomping around Earth and we know he's gonna peek into the Baxter Building penthouse window from the concept trailer footage, he might be looking for the Fantastic Four and for Franklin, but the family is not on the planet in this moment. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. It is rare for any adult to be doing exactly what they thought they'd be doing when they were younger. That's why there are so few rock stars who are also astronauts. Having a gap between expectation and reality is a normal part of being a person, but that doesn't make navigating that gap any easier. If you're feeling like you could use some help, consider using BetterHelp. A good therapist helps you see that you're not behind in life, you're simply on your own unique timeline. They help you recognize that your identity isn't fixed by some arbitrary deadline, but constantly evolving as you grow. This perspective shift alone can be so beneficial. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easy. Just head to betterhelp.com/newrockstars, fill out a questionnaire, and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Click the link in the description, scan the QR code, or go to betterhelp.com/newrockstars and get 10% off your first month of therapy. The idea that Reed would try to escape by taking their ship through a black hole is nuts. No one knows exactly what happens inside of a black hole. Well, Christopher Nolan, Kip Thorne, and Matthew McConaughey might, but science tells us that the gravitational pull inside of a black hole is so strong that not even light can escape. Observable stars that have approached black holes have experienced, get this, spaghettification, when an object is stretched into long, thin shapes due to extreme gravitational force. Yes, this is the same physical process that we saw when people were fried by temporal radiation in Loki season 2. It happened to Kang variant Victor Timely thousands and thousands of times, and I don't think it's coincidence that this concept has come back into relevance for the Fantastic Four. I've actually theorized in several videos at this point that the retro tech that we see in the TVA and Loki is built using Reed Richards' original designs, since Kang is technically Nathaniel Richards, Reed's descendant. The temporal loom causing radiation that results in spaghettification could be a clue that all of his technology could be based on energy discoveries made by traveling through black holes, the way much of our technology is based on discoveries made by NASA going into space. Anyway, piloting into a black hole could tell us that Reed has retrofitted the Excelsior ship with technology that allows it to resist the infinite pressure of a black hole. How would Reed know how to do that? Even if he is the smartest man alive who contains multitudes. Maybe some of those multitudes he contains are past conversations he's had with his variants through the Council of Reeds and the Bridge, because Matt Shakman just confirmed via Variety that both of those ideas were on his mind while developing the script. He said, quote, "As we developed the script for the film, I returned again and again to this epic run," referring to Jonathan Hickman's run, "thrilled by brain-bending innovations like the Council of Reeds and riveted by heroic standoffs against the likes of Annihilus. But it was Hickman's deep insight into the specific family dynamics of the four that affected me the most." Now, many have assumed that this CCXP scene must be at the end of the movie if they're going into a black hole, because some believe that this could connect to the Thunderbolts post-credit scene that shows the Fantastic Four ship arriving to the 616 Earth. I'm not so sure about that, because think about it. Would Marvel Studios really show the CCXP attendees a scene from the final sequence of their upcoming film? Also, going into a black hole is not the same thing as going into a wormhole. Sure, both of these are kind of theoretical, but even in science fiction, a black hole hole does not lead to another reality in the multiverse. Theoretically, it could lead to like a condensing of space-time, and if you're Christopher Nolan, Kip Thorne, or Matthew McConaughey, the use of a three-dimensional construct invented by fifth-dimensional bulk beings for you and you alone to bend backwards through time and space back to your daughter's childhood bookcase. I think this scene actually takes place somewhere in the middle of the movie. But now, seeing baby Franklin alive and well with Reed and Sue in the bed, we have to wonder how much of the movie do we see Franklin as a baby after this scene in space. Also, we should note that this baby in the bed is not a newborn. I speak from personal experience. Newborns cannot focus their eyes on anything or reach out to grab faces until at least 3 months in. Yep, it's not depicted in movies because they rarely have babies that young on a movie set. So could this scene in the bed actually be what's at the end of the movie after the Fantastic Four successfully scare off Galactus with the ultimate nullifier before some even darker post-credit scene kicks in? Or could this scene in the bed be a kind of illusion, a dream sequence, a false projection of reality shown to the Fantastic Four before the baby is born, which could also tie into the interpretation of the shot of Earth blowing up in the trailer, that also might be a hypothetical projected future rather than things that actually happen in the movie. These could be shown to the Fantastic Four from Galactus or maybe even the Watcher, projections and hypotheticals that could be shown to the Fantastic Four of what might happen to them in the future. But one other new detail from this trailer before we move on: when Johnny launches from the Baxter building to chase after Silver Surfer, we hear Reed yell, "Johnny, now!" Now, the automatic captioning on YouTube says Johnny now, but I'm pretty sure Pedro Pascal is yelling Johnny no, because this is an impulsive act by Johnny, and Reed must know that Johnny flaming on will not continue to burn in space. Hold on! Here we see the Fantastic Car take off, driven by Ben Grimm outside of the Ted Gilbert Show theater. Ben is centered in the front seat as Reed and Sue both brace for liftoff. The car zips past this billboard for Velojet or Velojet, the text rendered in a classic car logo font, making me think that this could be the brand of the single-seat buggies that we see throughout the streets and various Fantastic Four footage. We hear more of Reed's speech in the press conference.
Today, we are your defenders. The four of us will face the danger, and we will protect you.
It seems like this is a speech that Reed gives after losing the public trust. Maybe they lost that trust by having the baby in space while Galactus stomped around the planet looking for them. Johnny and Ben fist bump while floating in the Excelsior ship in zero gravity. They're wearing their new 4-themed spacesuits, so this would also be a bit later in the movie. I think this is after they've successfully evaded the Silver Surfer, but a cool detail: look at the window in the background behind Ben in the shot. The stars are zipping past the ship, suggesting they are in a kind of hyperspeed. Not the true spaghettification of stars that we see near black holes, but wherever they are, this is after Ben flew through a black hole, I'm pretty sure. All right, on to the last part of this trailer.
The clobbering time?
Oh yeah!
I finally knocked it off the list. The new spacesuits.
I take back every single bad thing I've been saying about you. To myself. In private.
Okay, gripe here. I'm not crazy about the exchange of Johnny asking, "Is it clobbering time?" and Ben answering, "Hell yeah." Just let Ben say, "It's clobbering time." I mean, I'm assuming the thing will say the catchphrase in the movie, but why give it to another character in a trailer that you're using to sell people on this movie? All right, rant over. These other clips are shots that I've broken down in past videos, but again, this shot of Silver Surfer in the molten soup, I think, is her on Galactus's ship Ta-2 in the converted matter, the planetary forge, after a planet has been destroyed and turned into a consumable form for Galactus to slurp up. In the final clip of the trailer, Reed rises from the red engineering station that are color-coded in the Baxter building. This is the area where he builds devices and tinkers. I like how you can see Herbie in the lower left corner of this shot. Johnny loves his new spacesuit. Remember, Sue walks in on him goofing around in a space helmet in the other trailer shot. And this playful relationship between Johnny and Reed is just so on point. Johnny is supposed to ruffle Reed's feathers a bit. I'm just gonna enjoy seeing these two in the film. Comment down below with your thoughts on the theories and details I found in this trailer. And a special thanks to one of our YouTube members, Cameron, who supports us at the executive producer level. Follow me at EA Voss and subscribe to all of the channels in the New Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.